They keep looking at it. And we are live on Oz Property Investors. We bring the big names, we have the big fun, and we have one of the biggest names, I suppose, in the property education industry tonight. Belinda Smith, how are you going?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me. This is fun. Well, I hope it will be.
Oh.
I've got a wicked sense of humour, so you guys can go nuts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for this one. Yeah, Belinda, we've had a few conversations off air, and you're a real person. That's what I love. You like having a laugh, you like having fun, and even more importantly, I guess for the audience, is that you're you know your stuff as well. So we're gonna dive deep into the renovation world.
That's cool. You are welcome to. I like dealing with real people. I think that there are a lot of I don't know. I just think that property investing should be fun and it shouldn't be taken so seriously. It doesn't mean we don't do our numbers, but you can be light about it.
Yeah. Put a bit of personality in the property, right? I mean, personality in numbers and yeah, it's interesting you sort of say that. I suppose that's kind of one of the reasons why we wanted to start this group. And yeah, just excited to talk about renovating and also profitable property deals. So as always, people, throw your questions, throw your comments. If you're watching later on YouTube, we love comments on there as well, even if you're saying that, asking questions of Jeff's facial expressions. I particularly love those ones. So if you want to throw comments about that, I'm keen. I'm all for it. How you going away, Joe? How's your day been?
Mate, my day's fantastic. We are I'm excited to talk about renovation, because renovation is one of those things that comes up all the time, and people say they want to do a renovation, and they don't always want to do a renovation because there's a lot of work involved once they start to see like the reality of it. But there's a lot of, uplift to make from it. And also it doesn't have to be hard. Like you can outsource a lot of it. So I'm excited to debunk some of the myths that are out there. But what about sorry, go on, Belinda.
No, me too. There's a lot of romanticism around renovation, and probably because of all of the flipping shows. I mean, I'm a bit nutty about it. So I talk renos all day and then go upstairs to relax, and I'll watch some crazy American flipping show where they're applying shiplap and doing their thing. But there's just, and particularly some of those shows from overseas where they have gigantic profits and they're buying properties cheap as they're paying next to nothing for their labor. And it's just so different from overseas. And then even here in Australia, where you watch The Block and other TV shows, there's this big romantic thing about, I'm just going to get a property and I'm going to pretty it up and it's going to be a profitable project. And that's not always the case.
I think it's kind of like watching Survivor. You sort of see behind the scenes they're throwing him a Mars bar or something like that. There's a lot of assistance I gather that goes on behind the scenes. So let's get into the quote, because I'm keen to bring the value, bring the goods, and talk to Belinda. So what is your quote of the week, Belinda? We'll throw to the guest.
I wrote it down. I've got a couple actually. One is from Tony Robbins. I used it when I was talking to a group of people during the week. And I think that it's perfect and it's particularly good in the property investment space. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. He even says 20 and 30 years. So much impatience in the property space, and all of the get-rich-quick stuff that you read online, and everybody wants the quick fix. And so that's my favourite.
That's a solid. Yeah, that's solid. I like to say get rich slow is property. It's not exciting. Get rich slow and boring is what property is.
Well, it depends on the way. I mean, you've been buying the last sort of 12, 18 months, man. I mean, I don't know about that. The gains have been insane, but I think it is slowing down. But yeah, I love that quote by Tony. It's Tony is one of he's intense. I've seen some documentaries on him. So how about you, Joe? What's your quote of the week, mate? What are you throwing down?
My one's an interesting one. If you want success, figure out the price and pay it.
There you go.
There you go. Everyone wants this get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not the way. It doesn't work that way. It's if someone's offering you a get-rich-quick scheme, it's not going to be a successful outcome for you. So figure out what the price is for what you want, and then go ahead and pay it if you're willing to pay it. But if you're not willing to pay it, don't pay it. I like that one.
Yeah, that's there's often a quote that I sort of hear that's sort of similar to that. It says, success comes at a price, and the rent is due every day. So it's kind of on your thing.
Well, you know, like,
I should have had that.
We were talking earlier. You guys work hard. You work hard. Like, you just work hard, and so do I. And I think that so many people think that they are just going to buy a property and everything's going to be fine. They hold on to it long enough and it's all going to be great. And that's the ultimate game, right? Is to hold properties long term for fabulous rental returns, etc. But there's got to be some kind of way of making that leap. And I see a lot of youngsters. My kids are 30. My God, my oldest is 30, 29 and 27. The conversation amongst their mates is all about, I can't get started in the market. Some have, but, you know, it's okay to rent long-term or for a lifetime and all this kind of stuff, because they just won't go through that moment or those weeks or that little bit of time of discomfort where they make a pact not to go out so much or to drink cheaper drinks rather than cocktails, or maybe just to go out for coffee and not for dinners, and they just can't get that deposit together. And, you know, I think success does come at some kind of price.
Yeah,
you got to sacrifice for it.
And that reminds me that the sort of I wanted to say, for anybody who's sort of struggled with the floods, and I'm just was bucketing down today where I am at. So I just wanted to say, if anybody's really struggling, hope you can sort of overcome and you're not sort of in too dire of a situation. Just want to be mindful of that. Which leads me to my quote quickly, and then we'll get into the crux of the show. So Dr. Seuss. So he said, I like this one because it's just a bit quirky. So he said, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. So it's kind of a bit of rhyming slang. So kind of what I take from Dr. Seuss is, and that quote is, you are ultimately you are the captain of your own adventure. You don't have to, if you're unable to sort of save the deposit, it's all about, well, what is the narrative that's leading to you to that? And some people are in really tough situations, of course, so not to downplay that. But I think that's, and to Joe's as well, to Joe's quote about success being due, I think that's, it sort of hits home for me with Dr. Seuss.
Here's a girly quote for you, last one.
Yeah,
okay.
The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, from Eleanor Roosevelt. Honestly, I think dreams are important. I think setting goals are really important. I think thinking big matters. I think thinking outside what your friends are advising you as possible matters too. I think that the guys that I work with that I love and I watch their progress, they have a big why, and even better than their big why, they have a who for, and it's all about their family and their kids and their future. It's something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, you've got a really big why as well, and we will unveil, or you and your team have a big why, so we'll unveil that probably as we go along.
Yeah, well, we'll unpack that for sure. Okay, great. Well, before we jump into who this wonderful lady is in front of us, we'll jump into our sponsor and then we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
This live session is sponsored by Scott Agate from Hello House. Scott has created the world's first property negotiation as a service business. So what does that mean? Well, let's think about it. When was the last time you negotiated on anything over $100? Let alone a property that is going to be one of the biggest investments of your life. The vendor, they have a trained negotiator on their side in the form of a real estate agent. That's kind of like you stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson after never training a day of boxing in your life. These guys are trained professionals, and that's what they do day in and day out. And this is what Hello House does every single day as well. They negotiate on property to get the best buy price from the real estate agents. Scott Agate, he's the expert negotiator. He has been in this industry since 1995. He owned and operated 3 Bell franchises. Scott was the guy that was teaching these real estate agents all these agent games. He knows all of their tricks. Having him on your side is going to give you a massive unfair advantage and literally save you tens of thousands of dollars. Unlike other ways of purchasing property, Scott's incentives are aligned with you, the buyer, meaning the more money he saves you, the more money he makes, which is what you want. You need to have those incentives aligned. Scott has kindly offered our group a massive discount on the retainer fee for his service. So if you're looking to buy your next home or investment property, click the link below to get in touch.
It's appropriate that Scott was first up because he was one of the people who said, look, Belinda's, you have to absolutely get her on to have a chat. So Yeah, great to finally have a chat, having on a live chat. So I wanted to. This is about you though, Belinda, and I was reading about this last night, and just reading all the things that you've done over your investing career and how you started. So I only took some of the highlights, but I mean, if I've missed something, let me know. But I think the key one that stood out is your big why is that you want to help 10,000 people reach financial independence through property investing and renovation. So I don't know if people are excited about that. Like, I'd love people to drop a comment or ask a question about how Belinda's doing that, I think. But so you are one of the most foremost property educators in Australia. So you run online live workshops and helping sort of master renovators as well. The other thing, you've done a mortgage broking certificate. So you're not simply about the tools of the trade. You understand the sort of finance and the vital piece that plays. And you've got 3 kids, which is often one of the bigger, accomplishments of why people do renovation property investing. And I think one thing that's probably stood out for me in your bio is that in 2001, you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that to me probably was a game changer, because probably some light bulbs went off in your head once that happened.
Oh, definitely. So to take it right back, I saw Mum and Dad renovate properties when I was a kid. They flipped a home before flipping was even a thing. So that was back in the 70s. So I actually was dragged along to this property every weekend with Mum and Dad while they painted and scrubbed floors and carpeted and all that kind of stuff. But I saw them transform this old property. They actually hung on to it for a little while for good rental return, and then they sold it. And they made significant profit. And I thought, okay. And then I was forever doing up my own room. Mum was a hands-on kind of lady. We were painting furniture, middle-class carrying bar people, nothing, never did without, but didn't have a lot. But we had a beautiful home because we made it that way. So I was wired that way. And then I met my husband, who was a mechanic, but he was really, I was going to say very hands-on, but that sounds a bit weird. He's very handy. He just was eager to get started, and he was just very open to renovating. And so we bought a unit together. I went out with him. I was 18. He was 19, straight from school pretty much. And then by the time I was so young when you think about it now. And then when I was 21, he was 22, we bought a unit together at Cronulla, and we paid $53,000 for the unit. Can you believe it? Ooh. Those figures.
Could I take 20 or 30 of those now, please?
Yes, please. We did a reno on that unit. It was smelly. I remember my mother-in-law crying, going, I can't believe you're buying this, because it smelled like baby's vomit, actually, is what it smelled like. It was really dirty. I know. And curry, baby's vomit curry. So we ripped everything out, like carpets and blinds, and scrubbed and cleaned and did the usual kind of, I call it old school reno. Brett and I still refer it, are we going to reno this with a lot of tradies, or we're going to go old school, which means we're hands-on. So we did an old school reno. We sold that property for $75,000 after about 18 months. And then we went to Kurnell on the waterfront. Sounds flash, but at the time wasn't all that flash. It's really come on over time, if anybody knows the area, on Botany Bay. And we bought an old place that Bikies had lived in for $92,000, and we bought that off market. And so we kind of, I don't know, we just learned a lot, and we just were eager, and we asked questions all the time, and we're always talking to real estate agents. And we were going to renovate that property, but it was a bit far gone. And I think somebody asked a question about when to call it. Well, like, we called it. We went, okay, we're not going to renovate this. We're just going to do a new build. We did a new build alongside a builder. And that's just was such a blessing for us, because I was in the cops then. I went straight from school into the police force. My husband was a mechanic, but he worked at Qantas at the time. We were both on shift work. So we were just afternoon shift, morning shift, whatever we had to do. Overtime, we were working overtime. And then we would just work alongside this builder, and we built this 2-story house from scratch. And he was a friend of the family, so he knew how keen we were, and he would just give us jobs to do. And I don't know, is it legal? But he'd sign off what we'd done. And so we worked alongside him right through the whole build. So
really?
And we were gyprocking, and we just did it all. Wow. And we saved a lot of money, and we learnt so much, and he gave us so much confidence. And Yeah, that was a real blessing. So after that, nothing was really very frightening anymore.
Can I ask you what the top 3 things you learned from building a property, building that property? Because I imagine there was probably 100 lessons. Or what were the 3 key lessons you learned from that?
Well, from that, I learned the jobs that I'll never do again.
Okay. What are the top jobs that you'll never do again?
We just learned how things put together, how they went together, in what order, how to talk to tradies. I learned to step it up. I was 22 by the time we'd finished that property, 22, 23. I learned that to get the respect from the tradies that I needed and wanted, I needed to really step into my own little, I don't know, I don't even know how to say it. I needed to step into my power a little bit and be unafraid to ask intelligent questions and and just kind of get right in their face and kind of try and match them a little bit as we learned and grew. Because there was one incident I'll never ever forget it. A plumber was on site, probably got off track, but a plumber was on site one day and Brett gave me a whole list of things to ask him about the sewage. So I was asking this plumber about the sewage and he said to me, and I was in my uniform, I'm ready to go to work, right? He said to me, "Oh, don't worry your pretty little head about that." And I thought, my gun's inside on the dining room table. Watch out, plumber.
Read the room, man. Read the room. Like, come on. Like I probably wouldn't. Yeah.
The steam came out of my ears, and then I thought, how did I phrase the questions? I didn't represent myself very fairly. I was like, I'm just about to go to work, but my husband's asked me to ask you these questions. I thought, never again. I'm just like, I know enough to really see what needs to happen with plumbing and sewage lines. I understand it. And so I'm not going to ask like that again. I'm just going to stand in my power a little bit more, and that kind of stuff's not going to happen to me again. So we were learning in our early 20s. So we built the house. I had 3 kids in 3 years. Every time the boss would say, "You're back on the truck, Belinda, on night shift," I'd say, "Oh, that's great, but unfortunately I'm pregnant." So I did line up my kids to work with maternity leave as much as I could to work the system. Sorry to the old sergeants at work. And we were just so into property, but reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad really changed it. We built our PPR. We were doing particularly well for youngsters because we just increased those profit margins by doing so much ourselves and building a substantial house. We had a lot of equity, and and a few of our friends at that point had started to buy other properties, investment properties. So we thought, okay, off we go. So we went to do that. I remember a mortgage broker, Police Credit Union, actually knocked us back based on our wages. So I think out of everything that I've learned over the years, it's not what you earn, it's what you do with it that matters, because we've never earned significant income. So we would always find a way. So we got knocked back on our loan, so we just kept pushing until we got a loan. We bought an investment property. We actually bought a property in Queensland, another build. We just built another one. We got a builder on the ground to do that. So we weren't there all the time, but we built another property. And then we had, even more equity and a rental income, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and thought, what now?
Yeah. So how do you go from running a renovation, not a renovation, but a development in very close quarters? You live next door in Cronulla and it's in Kurnell, and then you've got to see it all, and then you go totally remote, and also it's not 2022, it's 20, 30 years ago.
Don't be rude. You mean pre-mobile phone video, WhatsApp, and all that kind of stuff. You're just
I do an inspection and I get that sent to my WhatsApp and I have a look at it and I go through all of it, and then I call up the agent on my mobile phone who's right there.
Don't worry. Back in the day, I was on the manual typewriter in the police force, and there were faxes and telexes. What's even a telex? You're exactly right.
Yeah. So how did you do it all remotely, and did you create like a bit of a system and a process for it based off what you did previously, and then just said, look, we know what's going to happen. You need to be doing this. Where's up? Give us an update.
We actually got a builder who knew that he was going to be holding the responsibility of really doing the build and supervising like the whole lot. So we really got a builder who took care of the whole lot. And we went up a couple of times. There's a few things that we discovered later that weren't done so well. Obviously, people will cut corners if you're not there and if they're allowed the freedom to do so. So one of those things was we actually assumed that the house being in Queensland, Helensvale, that they would have put insulation in the roof. Like, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? No insulation. No insulation.
In Queensland?
So, yeah. Yeah, live and learn, you know. So young kids, we just thought, okay, that won't happen again. So we're always prepared to suck it up a little bit sometimes if something doesn't go so well, and just, you know, make a little pact not for that not to happen again, you know.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen again. So we've learned to look at contracts really closely. Yeah.
So what were some of the key lessons that you got from the first renovation, right? Like, what were some of the big mistakes that you made, and what were some of the biggest learnings that you got from it?
I think
if there were any mistakes.
From our very first reno in our unit at Cronulla, we learnt how sensible it is not to rip everything out, that you don't need to rip everything out. We had a perfectly decent kitchen that needed an update. So all the carcasses, generally speaking, most of the carcasses in the kitchen don't change a lot from year to year. And if they're in half decent condition, it is okay to leave them there. So we did an island bench and just didn't rip it all out. Same with the bathroom. We renewed some of the tiles, but we left some. And I learnt to style things up so that they match and go, and so that you draw people's attention away from the things that aren't so great, and you direct people's attention towards what really works. And that's how you can sell as well, as like, you know, you channel people's attention towards what looks fabulous, and they get very drawn and attached to a property. So I learned that really early on. That saved us money. And also you get tradies in, like kitchen companies, and they go, okay, let's just rip all of this out. And I've learned to think, okay, does this suit me in these circumstances, or does this really work for you? Yeah.
It works so much. You can just literally just take all the doors off and replace them with caboodle doors, and then they look fantastic. And or just replace the doorknobs, paint them white. We actually going under contract on a property today, well, tomorrow actually now. And it's a really old kitchen, but it's sturdy. It's very sturdy. And all you need to do, take the doors off, put a caboodle on it, change it, do it, pretty doorknobs, paint it white, and then new bench top. And then that is a $3,000 job instead of a $15,000 job.
And no one's going to know, Joe.
And there's going to be no one's going to know.
Yeah, no one's going to know.
No one except the 15,000 Aus prop now. That's you got to learn that. Yeah. But
all of the Aus prop people, but I've got 15 grand more to be fine with.
Yeah. So we've just learnt so much along the years, and we were mixing with people that were property enthusiasts back then as well. So we just talked property non-stop.
What did that look like, actually? Look at us here. We're socially in 3 different places online with many people watching right now, and we've got a community of a lot of people that we just chat with. But how did it work before? You'd have to go to meetup events and grab copies and do it the old way.
Yeah, we did.
Was Summersoft a big thing back when you were sort of coming up through the ranks?
100%. Yeah. So Jan Summers and Margaret Lomas were some of the ones that I followed earlier on, just read books and went to their events, free events, and paid. I mean, really, in business and property, I would have spent to this date about $100,000 on my learnings, at least, you know. Yeah. And I just think that that's part of it too. It's taken us to where we want to be faster. That was it. Like, it just shortcuts your progress and your process.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. We're learning from other people's mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
We could do a whole session purely just on that, but I think off the back of your sort of lessons learned, I think there's something that I'd love to unpack. You've got some. We promised a golden ticket, so tell us these golden rules of property investing, of I suppose renovating that you've. I'm sort of getting into it. So you don't have and give us a bit of color around them as well.
I think we could break it down, or I have broken it down into the big five, you know, the big five golden rules. But inside each one of those are all the little intricacies. One is to buy really well so that it is at market value. In a market like this, you mightn't get a bargain in different, you know, when property's behaving differently, it's much easier to buy undervalue, but you have to buy really, really well. Like, you just can't overspend. The second thing is to buy in a really good location, you know, in a good location. One thing I'd like to say is some people are so after the perfect property that they just never get a start. And I'm a firm believer in a good location, not a perfect location, a good property, not a perfect property, because, like, what is that even look like? So
can we unpack what does a good location look like? I mean,
okay, so a good location. Oh, do you want me to do my five? I'm old. I'll lose track.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah. Otherwise, I'll have to. Yeah, we'll come back to it. Yeah, go on.
A good location. The third one is to renovate, like to do a great renovation that's really appropriate to that property in that demographic. The fourth one is to style like a champion. Like, you have to style a property, and it's really easy to learn. And if you can't be bothered learning or you're not interested at all, hire someone to do it. And the last one is to sell really well too, like to just, you know, make sure you're smart around dealing with real estate agents and knowing what your property's worth and presenting it well for sale and making it easy for them. So, okay, so how do I find a good location, or how do I work out what a good location is?
Yes.
I think that's dependent, in the renovation space at the very least, that's dependent on more than just the areas, maps, drawing circles in maps and all this kind of stuff. It actually is dependent upon your own choices, how much DIY you'd like to do, what is your skill set in relation to DIY, is it worth DIYing, or you're just going to call teams in and understand that that's going to pull back on your profit margin a little bit, but it's also going to be a very speedy renovation. So I think people have got to get really grounded in their stuff, like how much DIY you want to do is the first thing. And you need to talk to your partner about that and be realistic about what you can do. Second thing is to work out how much you can borrow. So many people spend hours and hours, Joe, you would see this, they spend hours and hours wandering around all of these places trying to figure out, is this a place to renovate? Is that a place to renovate? But if you can't afford to borrow enough to, you know, to buy there and do the renovation, let's leave joint ventures out this and other funding. But if, you know, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
If you can't afford that area, you're looking in the wrong spot. You're just going to have to go further afield or somewhere else. And I think the last thing is how far you're prepared to actually travel. So hubby and I, because we're in Sydney, and we bought like a lot of properties in 12 months. Somebody told us a strategy about buying property with no money down. So we went, that sounds cool. Let's do that. No. So we bought 7 properties over about 18 months. And we worked out that.
Those were the days.
Oh, those were the days, let me tell you. And even for years after that, I used to walk into the bank and see the guy, the loans guy at the bank, and he'd say, what do you want? What are you looking at? Okay, off you go. Like, it was just, those were the days. But anyway, so it means how far are you prepared to travel? If you're doing a renovation at something and you want to be hands-on, you might not want to be driving that far. Not everyone is as kooky as I am. And my husband, we drew the line at about 3.5 hours. So we were buying in a town called Gloucester back in the day, back in 2003 and 4. It was 3 hours and 40 minutes from our place with a wee and a cup of tea, we used to say. So a quick stop off along the way, 3 hours and 40 minutes. And we were prepared. I could drive up in the morning. Get the kids off to school, or mum would get the kids off to school, and I'd take off in the morning and I'd go and look at properties all day, get back in the car, drive back home, pick the kids up from the school gate, then do the soccer training, the fizzy, the netball, the cricket, everything that the kids did. And then I'd iron till late at night. And then, like, it was just full on. I remember it being full on. But, hey, now I'm in my 50s. So worth it. So worth it. None of it was a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that you said was, like, choosing a good location. So, like, how do you actually do that from – like when you're looking at an area? Have you got some rules around, like, for me, I'm like, don't buy on a main road.
Yeah.
because it depends how you define a main road as well. Like there's a main road out in, you know, Toowoomba, and it looks like a main road, but it's actually not really that main.
Yeah.
But have you got any kind of rules around like demographic, like the area?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're picking a location, number one, you have to get really like define it, how much DIY, how much you can borrow, get settled on how far you want to travel. Then start to zone in on what you think are really good, healthy locations. So places where there's good industry, places where there's good school catchments, because when you're renovating, you're selling to an emotional buyer, usually a homeowner, and they will pick and choose what property they'll buy according to school catchment areas. If you're selling to families, if that's your demographic, so it matters. Traffic, main roads, things that are going to affect, like problems that you can't fix. Some problems you can fix. The house I'm in right now was like smelly and old, and the pool was like mud soup. So perfect for us, because we're looking at that. Other buyers are going, well, this is awful. And I'm going, oh,
you can fix it with
problems.
It's amazing. It's amazing when I look at a property now and I see it styled perfectly, a perfect renovation. I almost just say, okay, I'm not even discredit, done. You've already added all the value for me. Yeah. Belinda's been through this one. She's added the value. She's taken the value and she's run with it.
Yeah.
So what did Toddy Sloan with Pizza and Property? He says pretty isn't profit. That is
pretty is.
I think it was
somebody else's profit.
There's no profit.
Yeah, pretty is someone else's profit.
Yeah.
So one question I wanted to ask. I should go on, and I'll come back.
No, I was just going to say, location really matters when you're on selling a property. You want it to be a healthy location, as in, you know, if you're doing a flip, the actual market, that location, it doesn't have to be moving like that. It just has to be solid and steady and respected, because you're just in and out of the market pretty quickly, right? So you're not going to hang on to the property for 15 or 20 or 30 years. So not that crucial. It just has to feel okay. But I like it. I like getting on the ground. I know we can do so much research online, and I think if you can't get on the ground, you need a buyer's agent, seriously. But you've got to get on the ground. Look for cafes. You can feel it.
You can. You can feel an area. Get a buyer's agent that's on the ground. That's rule one.
Yeah,
just laying on the ground. Yeah.
Just having a nap.
But you can really feel it, and you can observe what property inspections are like. You can observe the demographic of humans wandering around the place. You can look at shops and see how many shop closures there are and who's out doing coffee, and like you can really feel it. Sometimes I think people just don't really open their eyes. You know, they just looking at the numbers is one thing, but just feeling it makes a big difference.
One of the questions I had was around what you were talking about before, on the determine your DIY. What does that look like when you're saying, hey, I'm gonna like do just painting? Like what is it? How does it kind of look like for someone to make that decision, and how do they break it up?
Some people, yeah, exactly right. Okay, so first of all, in our lives, we develop skills. And I think that I call them transferable skills. So if you're a great organizer around your house, or you work as an accountant, or you're going to be great at doing the numbers, the scope of works, like really focusing on getting quotes and all that kind of paperworky kind of stuff. So you stick at that. That's your jam. If that's what you do and you want to have a go at tiling and you've never tiled before, it's a big mistake when people say, I'm going to DIY a house, like a cosmetic renovation perhaps, and I'm going to do all the tiling. I think maybe have a go at the laundry splashback on this job. Bring in the big guns to do bathrooms where fall into drains really matters and all that kind of stuff. Just don't make it too hard for yourself, because the longer it takes, the more repayments you have. Like it just, and then the less the reward comes to you a little bit more slowly, and it can be dramatic and it can feel exhausting. And that's when people DIY too much and they go, I am never doing this again. And then that's it. And I think that's such a shame.
Yeah. And then they blame the profit as well, because they're like, well, this took 6 months, but look how much it cost me because of all this time that I have repayments, and I didn't get any rent in that time, but that was a perfectly fantastic deal. if you just outsourced the hard bits. You do the painting and that's it.
Yeah, and some people earn a lot of money in their day job. And I think, well, why would you take time off your day job or even worse, quit your day job way too soon until you've got this whole flipping thing under your belt? Why would you do that when your time's best spent there? You earn the cash and you pay somebody else just to get in and get out and get the job sorted. Yeah.
I want to ask a potentially controversial sort of question that's around sort of. Ooh. Yeah, it was posted by the audience, and I think it was a good time. So Rodney sort of asked, is it better not to reno in the types of sort of markets we're looking at, instead deploy into another, and this is not financial advice, people, don't sort of into another purchase, and then when the sort of, I mean, because the market eventually will slow down. So what are your thoughts on that? Are you sort of...
What'd you say? Okay, what was the question?
Well, basically, not reno now. Actually, just use, if you've got I don't know, let's just say hypothetically you've got 200K, and you can go and buy, I don't know, 400K house and reno that, and reno might cost you, let's say, so you could buy 2 houses with, let's assume you've got borrowing capacity, or you could spend sort of 40, 50, 60K on the reno. What would your... I mean, that was Rodney's question. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm very in tune with Reno. And so I understand what you're saying, because, okay, we went to New Zealand, we bought 4 houses. Like, how cool. No money down, off you go. And they've all risen. So, yeah, you're spreading you're just leveraging, and you just love it. You know, every house gains in a percentage. So I know what you're saying. But I always think that renovation is like rocket fuel. And so in this market, like, my guys have not been able to get a bargain at the front end. A lot of them are bought off market, so they've done okay, but they've not. Times are gone where you can say, hey, pick and choose, put in offers over 15 properties and ask for all of the terms and conditions you want, and find one that will give you access before settlement and all that kind of stuff. Those times aren't as prevalent right now. So they're focused on buying a property, renovating that property, and the renovation too. Harder to get tradies. That might be taking a few extra weeks, but at the same time, man, they're winning at the point of sale. Like, they might budget their renovation and say, well, a lady in the group the other day thought she'd get 40K out of the renovation, and she got 80K straight up. So she's like, okay, we just doubled the profit that we estimated. And then she'll take that and go into something else. I think in the end, it's a personal choice, and it's all about the numbers. And if you don't like to renovate, don't do it. I'm a bit lazy. I can be a lazy renovator. Like, I pick and choose my jobs.
Yeah, me too. My job is mostly on the keyboard, I'd say. I mean, but one of these days I do want to do a reno where I'm sort of somewhat on the tools, and just to get a bit of, maybe even get me a photo of a paintbrush. It could be fun.
Painting is my happy place.
You can hang a door and see how impossible that is.
Can't be that hard, can it? You just got to, YouTube here or there. On that point, you said sort of sell really. I think the last golden rule. Just looking back to you. Yeah. What are your what about those people that say, why are we selling? Why aren't we sort of keeping the equity and sort of using why are we selling the golden goose?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, if you can hang on, my strategy personally has always been hang on to whatever I can over the years, but just being able to put some cash injection into either your current portfolio. I mean, when you've got your renovation profit, then you can do whatever's right for you with that profit. Go and use that as a deposit for another deal. Go and use that to maybe do a joint venture with somebody else who owns the property, and that might be your renovation spend, and you go and do a profit share at the end of that bigger deal, so you're getting bigger profit, pay down some of the debt that you have. Like, you're in charge of your own. Like, this is why property just lights me up. Everyone's in charge of their own destiny. Everyone can do what they feel comfortable with and what they like.
Yeah, and that's such a great point as well. One of the things that I think that is not spoken about too much is getting your deposit back, right? You've just spent the last 4, 5, 6 years saving, let's just say 80 grand or 100 grand for a deposit, and then you buy a set and forget that is growing at 5% a year. You're not going to see your equity or your deposit for another, a number of years. But if you want to purchase another property, you could buy a lesser value property, save an extra $30,000 in cash, roll that into a renovation, and now all of a sudden this $500,000 property is worth $600,000, and then you've got $80,000 of equity there that you can just put into another deal. You get your deposit back. That's just crazy. Imagine it gives you a free house now.
So I love momentum. I really love momentum, and I love looking after cash flow. So one of our students actually did a new build, and he built it so that he could rent out, like he's just a young kid, he's 28, 29, was going to renovate, was going to do a renovation, rang up and apologised to me. Oh, and I don't care what you do. Did a new build, kept his budget tight, rents out one of the rooms. It actually costs him now $50 per week to live in a brand new house. Yes, he's got one of his rooms rented out. But I'm like, that's pretty clever, because now he's got a lot of equity. He's not living like a poor, broke young person. He's got plenty of cash flow to go and enjoy himself, or go and save up for his next
Free
deal.
rent.
Yeah.
Free rent, and he gets the equity uplift.
Yeah.
They call it the house hacking strategy on the Bigger Pockets in the US podcast, where it's hacking because you're essentially sort of able to have an investment property or a property, but also not have to really pay too much rent. So somebody else is paying your mortgage whilst, it's undervalued.
Yeah.
This is where I see the duplexes. You know how we've got duplexes where they're on the same title, and some investors are like, no, they only sell to investors. I don't think that's going to be the case going forward into the future. The way this rental crisis is going and the value of house prices, duplexes, you're going to have the 2-bedder and you're going to have a 3-bedder on the side. You're going to rent that 3-bedder out. You're going to keep the 2-bedder to yourself. When the family grows, you're going to kick that tenant out and get a more affordable tenant in the next one. I can't not see that happening.
I just like property full stop. Sometimes there's too much choice.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Too much choice.
Very much so. So what are some of the things people should, I don't know, steer away from when looking at a renovation, right? What is too much reno?
Too much reno for you. I don't mean you personally. I mean, like if you're brand new and you're brand new and the whole thing terrifies you a bit, don't go and buy a property that requires a great big drawn out structural renovation. That includes getting plans drawn up, getting council approvals, hiring a whole bunch of tradies. Like, just don't. Just go and do something where you're ripping off smelly old curtains and repainting and redoing kitchens, bathrooms. And so layout really matters. Pick something that's a good cosmetic. It's got good potential, but it's also got a half decent layout, so it's not beyond you. So I think people make the mistake with taking on too much too soon. Yeah.
What's a half decent layout mean?
Oh,
what's a good layout?
People, everyone knows that kind of stuff. We like to live, you do, but we like to live in Australia in a certain way, and it means having family all around us, kitchen, family, living areas out the back, entertainment out the back. We have the climate for it. Maybe not now around the country, but usually you have the climate for it. And those properties traditionally sell really well. So there's a potential in the market right now, and there's a lady doing it in Queensland right now. It's just an awesome strategy. You know those project homes that are about 25 or 30 years old and they're tired? Like they're a bit boring and tired. The bricks, the Brunswick green guttering or that maroon coloured guttering and primrose, that yellow colour, and bricks that are dated and tired, and the pavers, the old red pavers that are dated and tired. Grab one of those properties because generally speaking, the layout is fine. They catered for en-suites, so en-suites to the main. The kitchens have old U-shapes or L-shapes, however they are. But, you know, renewing a kitchen with a nice island bench, renewing floors, keeping your spend to, say, less than $100,000 on a property like that will return substantial profit if it's done in the right area.
Yeah, right. Okay, so just open plan living. Yeah. So for some areas, how do we know when the area is not suitable for a renovation? Like, is there a place that, like, are there some locations where you look at the numbers and it's just like, well, no, this doesn't make any sense anymore. There's no renovation to be done.
We actually looked at Newtown the other day, Newtown in Sydney, with my son and his girlfriend. Fingers crossed, my new daughter-in-law.
Fingers crossed.
hope you're listening.
She's watching.
We're just friends.
If she's watching, I hope whatever. Yeah.
Put a ring on it, Luke.
Good on him.
Get it done, Luke. Seal the deal, son.
So we were looking. Yeah, we were looking for them. Look, honestly, we looked at a fully renovated place in Newtown, and then we looked at a few unrenovated places in Newtown, and there just wasn't enough difference between the unrenovated places. And I looked at the buildings, and they're old, structural problems, damp problems, and I thought there is just not enough.
In terms of the price?
Yeah, the bottom of the market's been pushed up because everyone's just trying to buy in at the moment. And then the fully renovated places just aren't, there's just not enough difference. There's not enough disparity. There's not enough margin for profit. So, there are places that, and that's just one little pocket in Sydney. But you know what? There's always pockets where there are really nice differences between unrenovated places and fully renovated places. And again, Joe and Jeff, I think you've got to get on the ground. You've got to walk through them and see, you know, what people have done to those properties and how much they're actually selling for and what people are prepared to pay at the final product. And then you just get an unrenovated place and go, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah. And you can go through there and just kind of look around. Is it a caboodle kitchen? Is it a stone bench top? Is it a laminate bench top? You know, let's strip away the fancy furniture that's around here. But what exactly is it? It's white paint on the walls. It's got a free-flowing layout. One of the other things that I think when we're talking about layout as well, that people that don't necessarily see so much is like, if you've got a 3-bed, 2-bath, and then like 2 cars, say, and then the difference between a 3-bed, 1-bath. And if you can create a property that has 3 beds and 2 baths by joining a property to like knocking out a wall and creating an ensuite and putting a toilet in, it's not actually that much money. And having a look at some of those other disparities. So not just the price of a renovated versus unrenovated, have a look at all the side things, like how many bedrooms that it has, how many bathrooms it has. And if you can make those things, if you can put a wall up and make it a 3-bedroom home, so many opportunities like that.
And so many tricks of the trade, you know, converting garages and adding carports, and even though they're open carports, which get council approval, filling them in a little bit.
Yeah, loosely filling them. I saw a fantastic loosely filled in one in Queensland.
Yeah,
and but it works. It's a full garage, except it's not.
Garage. It's only a carport, but it gets approved. You know, it's council approval. So it's all about knowing exactly what to do. You know, to keep lifting that value. And another thing too, if you've got a large internal space and you can reconfigure internally a property, there's good money to be made in that. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing here with this property, but I've seen another guy locally doing it as well, because obviously when you're renovating or building, most of the expense is the footings and the slab, the walls, the external walls, the roof. It's not so costly to knock down a few walls and move a few things around.
Yeah, walls are substantially cheaper than you actually think. Like maybe not now with all the price of timber, but you were saying that the difference between a high value reno and a low value, like a high value property and a non-renovated property, do you have like a general rule when you think about it? Is it like 35% more or less, or have you got some rules around that?
I think, I mean, we'll just cut it down to basics. Yeah, we have some rules and there's some calculators that we use, but essentially you just have to look at the value of a property. You have to look at how much the highly renovated similar properties are selling for. You have to work out how much to spend on the renovation. We used to say try and spend around 10%. So difficult to do right now because of the cost of builds and tradies, etc. But, you know, think about what that renovation is going to cost you to do. Like start doing a FISO straight away and a rough guesstimate FISO, and there's plenty of online calculators to help you with that. And when you've renovated, like hubby and I, we just go around in our head, go 11K for the driveway, this will be that, this will be that. So you can do it really quickly. There has to be enough meat in the game for you. Like it has to be worth your while. And I've run surveys, like at workshops, I've said to people, you know, how much is enough profit for you in these deals? And, you know, is 50K enough? And nearly everyone in the room will say, yeah, 50K net profit is enough out of a deal. And then I'll go downwards, 40K. Some people put their hand up, 30K. The further down you get, You know, by the time you get to 20K, no one wants to do a reno for 20K. And I applaud that, because if something goes wrong and it's not a perfect reno, then you don't want to be pulling back on a profit of 20K. So I think 50K should be the minimum on a lower price property, somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. And I think that beyond that, as soon as you get up in higher value properties, it's all relative. About 20 to 30% of the purchase price, I reckon you should be able to pull.
Yeah, right. Okay.
In profit.
So, yeah. And do you see that the higher value properties are a better renovation? Because like the value of a kitchen put into a $3,000 place is surely not that much more put into $1 million place. Like it is more, but it's not like proportionally percentage wise.
Where are you buying $3,000 places, Joe? Can I get it? You mean 300,000?
300. Oh, well,
yeah, we're on the same page. Okay, so I'll tell you where I think a lot of people go wrong too. Back to question 3 or whatever.
we just go back.
Thinking that if they just play in the lower priced property demographic, that they're actually reducing their risk. I actually think that, like you said, Joe, when you're into the bigger price properties and there's better profit to be made numbers wise, then if something doesn't go quite perfect, or you spend an extra 5K on something that you didn't expect, who cares? You know, like what's the difference? $295,000, $400,000 profit, or you got $395,000 profit, who cares? So I think that when you play it too small, there's not enough margin for error. Your contingency might get drawn into. It's just a falsehood thinking that if you play it small, you're safer. I really like $300,000 to $700,000 at least in that property price range. I think that there's plenty of places, regional centres, you can still get properties for that. But yeah, if you can get into the millions of dollars, if you don't have your own money, then we know that there's money partners everywhere, and then you can play a bigger game when you get the confidence, and that's when you pull some significant numbers. And then you don't have to do as many. So you've got one, you were right, one kitchen, not that much difference in cost, but there's one builder, one plumber, one electrician. There's one lot of your human energy, one lot of organising, one lot of property purchase costs, one lot of real estate commissions. Yeah.
Like, what's the difference between doing a $700,000 unit in Cronulla versus a $300,000 unit in Bankstown? Like, it's not going to be that much different if it's just a two-better unit. Not
the deposit, I suppose.
Yeah, so most people think very traditionally about having to buy the property all on their own and having the funds to do it.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
Oh, heaps of guys in my group do JVs together. They meet each other. They talk about what they can do, what they want to do. They hold hands for confidence. Some of them work. I know it's so funny, but some of them want to work. Yeah. Some are not good. Some want to work on a project together. So obviously 4 hands are better than 2. And if you've got 2 couples, it can be fun. There's a rumor, probably another myth about JVs being full of anxiety and that everybody's going to fight at the end and there's going to be some great big blow up. And when everything's structured properly and there's been some thought put into who's doing what, and agreements are legally drawn up and all that kind of stuff, most of them go really, really well. It's a great starting place if anybody needs some confidence, or they don't have enough money, or they want to play in a bigger market that they can't afford on their own.
Yeah, and what are some of the things that make a good JV, and what are some of the things that make a bad JV?
Bad JVs are people that you don't get along with, that there are red flags going left, right, and centre when you meet, and you think, my God, okay. Really easy JVs are when one couple or one person steps aside and says to the other person, I trust you, you just run the reno, because then it's really easy. You're not passing decisions from one to the next. There's not some silly argument over what vanity you're going to buy. Like when there's that level of trust, it works really, really well. Yeah.
And that's typically from someone who is doing the work like yourself, right, Belinda? You're very hands-on and you would go and do the reno. And for me, for the other person, they would generally be the money partner, and they would be a busy professional that, like a lawyer or a doctor, and they're like, I've got an extra 100K, I'd like to invest it into something cool. You go ahead and do it. I would just, and you just got to make it clear at the beginning, I'm not adding any value in terms of that. Don't run anything, like run things by me, but you guys make the final decision. Those type of relationships I've seen work out really, really well. It's when you get a doctor that doesn't know anything about, you know, styling a house to interfere, and it becomes difficult.
It's a win-win because the renovator gets profit and they don't own the property. The person gets their property equity up, you know, their property raised in value. They get the property fixed. It's a win-win.
So what are some of the, like, have you got any kind of cost-saving tips? Now, in my renovation, I've said this like 100 times, but this is just my favorite thing to do, is to change the light switches and change the power points because they get yellow, faded, and gross. And then all of a sudden you replace them. They look brand new, crisp and white, and they look awesome. And that adds a pop to the property. What are some little hacks that you've got that are, you know, minimal expense, but make a big difference?
That's a good point, Joe. I change PowerPoints too.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. Just paint everything that doesn't move, you know, just seriously throw paint on everything. And paint's improved. Even I've seen places around locally, one guy actually painted all of his bathrooms, and I thought, that's a lot. We're in, you know, the $3 million territory, and I thought that's a lot to paint all of the tiles on all of your bathrooms. And then I thought, nice price. I don't know if it's going to affect your sales price. So it was really interesting for me to watch. But people bought it and they paid significant money for it. He cleverly popped really fancy mirrors in all of his bathrooms so that everyone went, oh, wow, look at that mirror. Not, oh, my God, I think those tiles have all been painted. So I don't, you know, if you can replace tiles, that's obviously your first option. But tile paint and things like that have improved a lot. And if you're in a lower budget reno, then tile paint will do the job. You can spruce it up between tenants. If it gets knocked around a little bit, if you follow the instructions on the pack, they last way longer than they used to. They're way, way better. So there's a lot of things that you can do to save money. Light fittings, yes. You know, just examine something from top to bottom, each room, and go, okay, what has the biggest impact? One of the biggest impacts is new flooring, and but you know, it comes at a cost. Comes at a cost, but it has a massive impact on what a final property looks like. And if you can just draw the eye to something that works and pull the eye off things that don't. For example, there's a lot of thoughts around asbestos. And if you buy a house and it's got fibro walls on the inside or outside, you know, builders will say, everyone's got this cleansing thing, got to get rid of all the asbestos. And the truth is you don't, and particularly in the demographic that can't support that kind of cost. And therefore you can, you know, paint it up, but you probably do some really nice styling somewhere else and draw people's eye to something other than the fact that you've left the original walls. Yeah.
And also the cost of removing it is actually my thing. I did one of my first renos. We had a whole heap of asbestos in a little outhouse shed, and the goal was to turn it into this nice outdoor decking area. But I then discovered after the renovation that it was asbestos, and just said, oh, well, there goes that idea. I can't do the outdoor decking because it's asbestos, and removing that much would be way too expensive. But I didn't get it priced up or quoted up because we were busy. We didn't factor it into our budget. We didn't factor into the time. And then we didn't end up doing the deck and making it pretty. But then, you know, 6 months later, I spoke to a friend about asbestos and then called around to find out how much it would cost. It was like $2,000 for something that would have added $20,000 worth of value.
Yeah, you got
if you have got asbestos, do check how much it would cost to remove it, because it's actually not that much.
I agree. It's not overwhelming, but if you've got a whole house full of it and you're in a lower demographic, you know, those properties where people think are low risk for less than 200,000, then it mightn't be worth your while. Yeah.
Another one's actually that that wooden palings, the faux wood like panels that go across the wall. Like it was very like 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I know them.
You can't paint them because it looks like rubbish, but replacing them means you need to replace the entire wall. So when you're looking at a renovation, think of that because you can't really do much with that outside of fully replacing them. Expensive.
Yeah. Look, money saving tips. I think paint. Not ripping everything out. Shelving's cheaper than cupboards. So don't think that, you know, if you do a new kitchen, don't think that you need to put upper cupboards everywhere. whack in a few shelves as well, just like a few little cheats like that. Shelving gives you a nice area to style. Same with laundries. Shelves are awesome. It means that you can go and buy your caboodle kitchens or things like that. If they don't quite fit the space, then you can add, some cute little shelves at the end and fill in a gap and make it make sense. And there's lots of things.
That's a good idea.
Lots of tips, yeah. I've got thousands of them, truly, but not tonight, Joe.
Okay. Well, what we'll do, we'll jump into our next sponsor for the evening, and then we'll cover off a couple more property investment tips, and then jump into some of the comments people have.
Cool.
Let's do that.
Commercial property offers the highest cash flow in Australian property investing, offering exceptionally higher yields than residential. Now, we're talking 8 to 10% net yields. That's cash after all expenses, not this 2 to 6% gross that we see in the residential space. So for those that are starting out on their commercial investing journey, it can be exciting, but it's also a step not to be taken lightly. The expertise of a commercial buyer's agent can pay dividends to help you secure that high cash flow and high growth potential property. And this is why we recommend Steve Polisi of Polisi Property. With over 6 years experience in the space, Steve has over 1,200 property transactions under his belt. He has seen it all and knows the best locations right for growth. In a previous life, Steve was a chartered mechanical and structural engineer, so he draws on his mathematical and analytical skills that he's developed to break down what works best in commercial property. As with engineering, same goes with commercial property. It's based primarily on the numbers. So if you're curious about diversifying into commercial property, you have access to $100,000 in cash or in equity, book a call with Steve today and find that perfect asset for you.
There we go. Yeah, so let's get into some more tips. Let's get into more. I'm just looking at what's because we've talked about plenty, but I want to. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go on, mate. Sorry, I got excited.
I was just going to say.
What are some of the hidden things, Belinda? So when I look at a renovation project, I see like so much stuff that can be done, but then I look. Like with a trained eye, it looks completely different to someone that's like, oh, great, this is a renovator's delight. The guttering's all destroyed. The electrical box isn't up to code. Like, what are some of the hidden costs that you see? I feel like I've given a hint to a few of them.
Electrical. Okay, so I try and tell my guys not to spend money on stuff that nobody else is going to notice, particularly. Don't get too hung up on, I mean, obviously electrical has, if it's not working or there's issues with it, that you need to get that fixed, right? So you're just going to have to spend money on that. But some people go to the nth degree on fixing things and being all hung up on getting things perfect that people aren't going to notice. Like whatever's happening in the roof cavity or underneath the house, or, ripping all beams out and replacing them all rather than just repairing. And like, you need to pass building inspections for the next buyer, but you don't need to go nuts. And I see it so much because we're marketed to so often that people just think they have to go over the top. And if you start to spend too much money and overcapitalize on the renovation, you're just going to come out exhausted, and you might break even at best. Sometimes you can lose. So people bring their preconceived ideas into a renovation, and I think that that's just a waste of time. It is all about just stripping back your thoughts and going, okay, what can I do that's going to cost me the least, that's going to have the most visual impact, and really grab at the heartstrings of a buyer, particularly if those buyers are families, women. You want them walking through and picturing themselves in there, because they're the people that are going to fight for it at auction or fight for it on this in this kind of market. So you really do need to drag them in. So spend money on styling rather than what's happening underneath the floors. Yeah, so more you need some landscaping at the front to excite people, to actually draw people into the property, but it doesn't have to be expensive. So instead of a new front fence, don't think straight away I've got to get a new rendered front fence when you could plant a row of trees. Yeah. Or do some sleepers, or there's so many design things that you can throw into a property that cost less but give the same visual impact. That's the key. The key is knowing exactly what kind of cosmetic changes to make to a place, and it's very learnable.
Yeah, it's just going through a process and learning from the experts like yourself. Learning what has gone wrong as well. That's a big point of trying to see what's happened previously and learning from other people's mistakes. And
your own. I mean, all of us, our first reno is never going to be the same as our third or fourth. We're always going to get better. Even that example in communicating with tradies and speaking tradie language, that's something that's learned, and that's something that you develop as you get older, and and then when they're pulling the wool over your eyes a little bit. Not that tradies are our partners in business, not having a go, but you just know when it's just easier. Everything's easier when it's repeated.
Yeah, it's like $3,000 quote for this, but it's a 10-minute job.
And you do know.
Yeah.
So what are your ways to actually tell when somebody's because if, let's just say it's my first or second reno and I haven't done this before, how do you know that thing? Do you get the free quotes, or do you because oftentimes it can be tough. Like, what are your ways of doing that?
I think firstly you've got to get quotes that are apples to apples. What happens to people is they'll call a builder in, and the first builder will quote, then the second builder will come in and say, oh, why don't you move this wall, or why don't you do that, and why don't you do that, and quote something a little bit different, and then another builder will give their take on it. So it's apples to apples. You have to define what you're going to do and be strong with these people, because these people make money off bigger quotes. For them, it's one job, one lot of unpacking the ute and their tools. They like a bigger quote. They like new builds more than renovations, and so they might charge you up a little bit more because of what you're already dealing with and all that kind of stuff. So I think you get better at asking and comparing quotes. There's so much stuff online at the moment right now at your fingertips to run some numbers by, renovation calculators and architect sites that have some really good things, and also Facebook groups like mine, where you can just ask a quick question. Hey, I just got quoted this. What does that sound like to you? People in the space in all of these property groups who are doing the work can recognize something straight up when it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges for the newer players to the game? Is it that sort of understanding how to actually manage the job itself, or what do you find people really struggle with?
Yeah, the two things that you just mentioned, just getting those quotes and knowing what's a good quote, what's a reasonable quote, hiring a good team, hiring good tradies. That's something that they feel. I think they make it bigger than it is, because it's just communication. It's just asking lots of questions, but that's something that they worry about a lot. Fear of mucking up. That's what they struggle with. Not FOMO, it's FOMU, fear of mucking up. Just spending too much on a reno and it not giving them the result that they think it's going to be. Listening to friends and family that don't have a business mindset about the renovation. So friends and family who say, why don't you do, they're just completely besotted with Instagram and all the latest product, and they're not thinking about the purpose of the renovation, which is to turn a profit. So outside influence from people who don't really have a full understanding of your purpose, which is property and profit.
Yeah, about that ROI. Do you have like a calculation for, you said like it was 20%, wasn't it? You try and aim to get 20%.
20 to 30%, 20% lowest, 30%'s up there. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I hear a lot is buying and flipping, but then are you seeing like a lot more people buying and holding than buying than flipping? Like, because I find it very challenging with the amount of stamp duty that you've got to pay, and then you've got to pay the agent's fee. It becomes very expensive to make the reno and then selling it. I don't know. Are you seeing more people flipping versus more people not flipping or holding?
There's a mixture of both. I actually have a friend who flipped 25 homes, 26 homes, and that was just what she did for income. Flip one house a year, take the money, live off it. She went to Europe every year or went on a big holiday for 6 weeks and bought a new car every second year. Flip one home a year, did it for 25 years. And I think that's great. But I used to get tired, and I looked at some of the properties that I'd held for many years. I'd renovated some. I'd done some new builds. I'd held onto properties here and overseas and commercial property. I made more money, so I think you just need that delicate balance of both. I think flipping is just a way to earn a chunk of cash. If it fits in your portfolio, that's awesome. A lot of people who are starting from ground zero, flipping enables them to get into the market sooner. So they'll flip a property, grab that money, turn it into the next bigger property, bigger profits, take that to the next one, bigger profits. Now they're talking about maybe being able to do one, renovate it, hold it, positive cash flow. Like, it's a way of moving ahead in leaps a little bit faster. And I think that's the main, I still think that's what renovating's for. One of my guys she's got 6 projects running at once. So that means that she's obviously leveraged a good team or a couple of teams. So 6 projects at once. She did 9 flips last year. Her aim from now on is to hold more property. And I'm like, yeah, I want you to. Like, I like it when people hold property.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just is based on your strategy, right? Like, I've got a client that's purchasing two and then beyond, probably 3 or 4 properties. But they have enough capital that they don't need to do the renovations right now. So they're going to acquire the portfolio of renovation potential properties that people can live in. We call them ugly ducklings, and it's perfectly livable, perfectly rentable. But if you do want to spend $30,000 on a renovation, you can, in a period of time over the next 3-5 years, to then get that equity out to go again. But for someone just starting out, you've got to reno that baby right now to get your deposit back so you can go again. But if you're further down the line in your journey, that's just not going to be a strategy that you need to worry about.
Well,
so it is all courses and courses.
Money gives choice. That allows you to make different choices.
Yeah. Very true. Are there any comments up there, Jeff? Have we got any questions? Throw your questions in, people.
Yeah, there's definitely a number of questions that come through. So we've also had some submitted prior. So let's tackle some of the curtains or blinds better. This is a big question.
Oh, okay.
That actually is a bigger question.
I like that one because I could think about that for my house actually.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so here are the rules in relation to curtains and blinds. Curtains have that easy breezy flowy, and they're back in vogue and they're very popular. The white sheers are full on popular. They're very economical. Really? So I would lean towards those. I also really like roller blinds, the ones that just sit inside the reveal, double blinds if you need privacy. I really like those, and they are good enough to flip properties with. If you're going to stay in a property and you really love plantation shutters, knock yourself out. But to sell a property, you don't need to. I mean, I put roller blinds right through a property that it was actually a new build, and we renovated a cabana. We did a garage conversion. That's a different story. We put roller blinds through that property because I knew that it was economical to do, and there's something that Brett and I could fit ourselves. We just ordered them and then popped them up. The minute the lady who bought the property bought the house, she ripped them all out, put them in the skip bin, and replaced them with plantation shutters. It did not affect our sales price, let me tell you. So it saved us probably. The house had 40 windows, so it saved us a lot of money.
40 windows.
40 windows, yeah, 5-bedroom.
And did you say you did shutters? So like the shutter, what the ones you install?
No,
those ones.
They're plantation shutters. They're more expensive. They're really popular. They're gorgeous. Yeah. But they're the things you put on your PPR.
Actually, they look really good. I must say, yeah. I like this question as well. This is one that pays a lot to the strategy. If you're in it to keep, how do you sort of do you find the valuations come back reflecting Reno?
Yes.
And they do. Okay. So how? Yes. Let's unpack this a little bit, because I think this is an interesting one. When you go into it, is there a way? Because with some brokers and some banks, you can do an on completion valuation. Or is that do you find that a bit of a myth? What do you?
I always think that things value up best, and also you can get depreciation schedules if you're going to hold on to property as well when they're fully renovated. When they're when they're all final, when you've got a list of what's new and what's painted, it all feels good and fresh.
So actually, I've done the valuation and then sort of It's interesting because
get someone on the ground, even better.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll unpack what an on-completion, because it's maybe a bit of jargon, but on-completion is actually going to the bank and saying, well, here's how much I'm going to spend, and here's how much I feel the value of the property should be, and getting the bank to commit, or getting the financier to commit to that valuation prior to, which, I mean, obviously
does that happen often? Like,
are you asking me?
No, Jeff.
Yeah.
Like, does that happen often?
Apparently, it's a bit of a myth, because it's just hard to get, because obviously, why would anybody commit to a valuation before the work's been done? But what are your thoughts on that, Belinda? I'm interested.
I was going to say that all right. So banks and alternative lenders, they function differently. Banks are getting very, very conservative about lending based on final valuation of the renovation. Unless you're in the business of renovating and you've got proven history, and I mean you've got your business structure, your trust structure set up, and you've done it many times, and then that's business. So that's different than just somebody going to flip a home. So so they're getting more and more conservative around that. But there's major banks, and then there's a lot of funders out there who are more open.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Have you got a question about that, Joe, about different lenders? Because that'd be one that's I think that's interesting, because when you say different lenders, what sort of, I mean, they generally would require a higher deposit, and what are the major differences between the big lenders and more flexible finances, apart from interest rate as well, I suppose?
Well, from what my guys are finding, I've got 630 people in my group at the moment. They're busy. And from what my guys are finding, the banks are getting really overly focused on salary, on the ability to pay back loans, more than, the old days where I used to walk into the bank and say, hey, this is the property I'm looking at. I've not lost money on property before, essentially, and this is what it's going to be worth at the end. And they go, okay, Belinda, off you go. Those days are so over. They're so gone. So banks are just getting more conservative. And I think, people renovate and they say that they're going to do amazing things. And a rough renovation is a rough renovation, and it's not going to value up. So I can kind of understand the banks for being
definitely I mean, would you think about it, if somebody's buying, if you're giving somebody 80% of the value of property, and then they come in and you're saying, and you're going to that person lending money and saying, oh, I'm going to go and buy this, I'm going to go and renovate this property, and it's going to be, I know, bee's knees, I'm going to put plantation blinds, and you look at it and you actually look, put in some crappy curtains, and you sort of say, well, I've already committed to that, because once they commit to it, so it makes sense. It's risk mitigation. So
yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, I'm going to do a renovation, and then just slap some paint on. You're done.
it. Yeah.
I mean, they probably wouldn't sign off and give you the money if it didn't meet their requirements anyway. I mean, so this is one from Aaron. Aaron usually asks some good. You mentioned earlier you grew up and invested in the Shire. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, both of you, Joe and Belinda, what are your thoughts?
I know, we're neighbours. Me and Belinda are neighbours almost.
We worked that out the other day. That was so funny when I found we're pretty close, within 5 minutes from each other.
Yeah.
How funny.
We should have done a live one.
We should have. You could have come here into my unrenovated house. This is the only room that's really put together.
The renovated section.
Could have done a tour.
You could have done it. It takes 45 minutes to do a tour of my house. It's big. So, okay. So I love the Shire. I think that the Shire attracts a lot of families. I think the Shire at the moment and over the last 18 months has attracted a lot of people from eastern suburbs, in particular with money. I like with money to spend, because there's good value still to be had here. It's like any other area. In the end, you've just got to look at each individual case. There are some suburbs in the Shire that I would renovate in more than others, and like everywhere else, that you've got to look at the demographic of the people there, where what side of the main road you should be, and all those kinds of things. When you get down to the nitty gritty, it's the same as everywhere else. What are your thoughts, Joe? Local Joe.
What are some of the suburbs that are more reno worthy in the Shire, do you think?
If you've got, I actually really like, if you've got coin, I still like Cronulla, South Cronulla. Jeez. I like Burraneer. It costs a lot of money to get in.
You'd have to have three or two, but I mean, depending on whether you're buying a unit or a house.
Three and then a mil to do the reno, but they're selling right up there, you know.
Well, so, what are your thoughts? Because I mean, obviously, the median house price, those core logic numbers aren't sort of citywide, but I mean, Sydney had a negative 0.1% sort of growth in February, and of course, that's medians are flawed. But are you sort of, I mean, I don't know how closely you track that market, but you still think that a reno could take anywhere between 8 to 12 to 16 weeks? Do you sort of see that in a couple of months' time, it's not going to get more stock come on market, or if you produce a quality product, it won't matter so much? What do you?
A little bit of all of that. What I think, Jeff, is that people should be fluid with their renovation strategies. For example, if you're worried about the market, don't engage in a renovation that's going to take you 8, 9, 10 months, or longer. A structural renovation in a market that's moving can really work in your favor, because the longer it's taking you to do, the market's moving even more than your mortgage repayments or your holding fees, right? So it can really work in your favor. But if you're nervous about the market, getting in and getting out in a short amount of time is just safer. It's just, there's just less, you know?
Well, that's the value of it. That's the value of a quick reno, is that it doesn't matter what the market's doing. The market can move, you know, it would have to drop drastically for the exact asset that you've got. It would have to drop drastically for it to actually make sense. Like for not make sense.
One of the things I haven't mentioned, sorry, I could talk all night, couldn't I? Sorry, is look for other strategies. Like, don't just rely on a renovation. Look for property that's got some kind of subdivision potential, or you can do a dual lock, or you can add a granny flat, or and some of the other areas in the Shire offer that a little bit, you know, Heathcote, Engadine, some of these larger blocks and older areas. Just don't. I don't know, don't be open. Be open. And
you have, I mean, the one thing, having done a couple of these myself and Joe as well, I'm sure, you sort of think it's vital to have multiple exit strategies. Just if you're relying solely on a renovation and the renovation doesn't come off, and have some fat in, have some meat on the bone, so to speak. Because if you're relying, if you need it to come in at X amount and it comes in, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, under what you expect, is that going to mean you're going to be selling either a break even or a loss? And if so, then I don't know, maybe that's a project you maybe shouldn't be taking. Or should be.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say, Jeff. If the numbers don't get caught up in the romance of I could fix this property, and it happens all the time. A lady came up to me at a workshop, showed me a picture of a red brick house she was about to buy. From the picture, I said, oh, this is awesome. This has got a lot of potential. Then she said, it's the worst house in the best street in her area. And when I looked at the numbers, because it's the worst house in the best street, all of the bottom end of that market was kind of pretty up there. There just wasn't enough disparity for profit, because everyone's trying to buy into that street. They pay more for the unrenovated houses than they actually should. And I looked at that and thought, you are not going to make money out of this. Why on earth did you buy this property in the first place? So people have to do their due diligence before they commit to something. And then when you've got enough margin, if something doesn't come off quite perfectly, you've got a buffer, you know, and I really want people to end up in profit. And to be honest, to my knowledge, no one in my group yet has lost money, and I'm probably over conservative in relation to choosing good deals and not getting caught up in this, oh my God, I'm just going to grab this one, or I could change this and make it look adorable so it's the property for me. Like, that kind of stuff lands people in trouble.
Here's a great question that's just come up. What is the Facebook group Belinda hosts? Obviously, the second best Facebook group there is.
I think you mean it's probably the best after us, Joe. I'm sorry, we're the best after hers. I mean,
I've got a couple of Facebook groups running, but I think the best one, if you're enthusiastic, is the Mums and Dads Renovators and Decorators, which is targeted towards mums and dads, renovators and decorators. I came up with a name in about a minute.
Demographic. Yeah, ours is Oz Property Investors. Guess what we're
Which
going
is targeted towards Oz property investors.
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, that's it. That's
pretty
the
small
one.
market we're targeting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that's
okay,
a really
so
good place. You're welcome to ask questions.
Is that an open group or a closed group? How does this work?
Oh, you have to request to join, but like we let people in. If you're a renovation enthusiast, it's for you.
Probably join.
Yeah,
you should join. And that's a really good place to ask questions. There's me and my Reno coaches are in there too. It's our public group. I mean, we've got private group, but this is a public group and you can ask questions. That's where you can ask questions like blinds versus shutters, or what do you think about this color, or that kind of stuff. We're happy to help.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, actually, because that's something that may be lacking in our group, to be honest. Like, people asking about, like, design and, like, oh, is this pretty or is this pretty? We're like, does it make money? Yes, it makes money. Go do it. Maybe that's not the answer everybody needs.
I will pull you up on that a little bit. I know that a renovation done by, I'll just say, an investor who just thinks they're going to replace old with new, and it's a heartless renovation. It's just grab the tiles that are on special at the tile shop, grab the old 30 by 60 or 300 by 600 white tiles, whack them on the wall, and a vanity from Bunnings. And honestly, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars left on the table with a boring, cookie cutter, thoughtless renovation because the bar's been lifted and people expect more. And when you really create something beautiful,
I think that's what Joe's saying. That's why I need to join Belinda's group, because otherwise we think about it too much from a numbers and not so much what is the market want.
I've seen one around here just sell for $300,000, $400,000 more when two people were just fighting over it because they had to have it. And you know, when you break down what people have done, you go, okay, they really haven't done anything extraordinary. They just put a bit more thought into this bathroom, and they've got one wall of feature tiles, which looks awesome. Would have cost them probably $300 more and brought in hundreds of thousands of more. So just to whack it, yeah.
Actually, I was just thinking about that ugly duckling we bought today. The person's leaving the house and they've owned it for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, but they've done the original tiles, and then they put laminate flooring in the living room, and then they put carpet in the bedrooms, and it just looks hideous. And this is why nobody walked into the property and was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this place. It didn't get that kind of vibe. And then I get it at a discounted rate because it's not the boom, flash in the pan that everybody wants. That's actually a great point, because if they did that, if they spent an hour thinking about what would be the best floor layout for this place, might cost nothing, might cost no extra, but actually putting in the right laminate flooring throughout or whatever.
And vinyl planks, laminate flooring, all of that work really well. And if there's a continuous flow, it draws you from one room to the next and it really draws you in. It makes spaces look larger and it really works. It can really draw you in. And you've got to draw people in. They'll pay more if they've lost it. Like when I say lost it, if they're thinking emotionally about a purchase, they will pay more. And that's what you want. And that's why we're looking at locations too. We don't want too many renters in a location. We do like to sell to property owners because they're the ones who'll go over and above for their PPR.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good. Well, how do people get in touch with you, Belinda?
Renovateandrealestate.com.au is my website, renovateandrealestate.com.au. And there's a contact form there. I know it's a long one.
No, it's rare, which is I mean the acronym's pretty cool.
Rare is short for renovateandrealestate.com.au.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. I saw that floating around. I'm like, I wonder what that means. Real estate. I like it. And so do you do a course, or how do kind of people like soak up your knowledge? Like, this is what I love about books, right? You know, I've got a whole stack of books here, and I've got Margaret, I've got Lona, I've got Steve Polisi even. But they boil all of their information down into, you know, a book, and you can soak it up. And that's what I love about courses as well. But how can people soak up the knowledge that's inside your brain over, 20, 30 years of renovating?
So I do run a course. There are 12 modules of recorded training, taking people right through how to search for property, what is a good location, some of the things we touched on tonight, but tip of the iceberg really, how to make all of those right cosmetic changes to a property and how to sell for more. And we do lives every Tuesday, and I'm openly available. Yeah, every Tuesday morning.
Yeah, Tuesday morning.
Tuesday mornings and Tuesday lunchtimes. I do lives in that mums and dads group, so you can hear bits and pieces of learning from there. That if people get in touch with me, I can steer them in the right direction. Or if I'm not the right person, I'll steer them somewhere else. That's all right too. I don't mind that. Can
I ask one sort of what are some of the a lot of the questions that people are? What is the most common couple of questions people ask on those lives, or what do you?
Most common question, I think, is does capital gains tax kill profit for a renovation flipping?
Didn't really unpack that, did we?
Yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, that's a good one. We should have asked that. What's the answer, Belinda? What's the answer?
In quick form, if you're flipping property and your intention is to flip property, even if you're going to live in that property and it's your intention to make money off that property, then you need to be thinking about structuring differently than doing it in your own name, and therefore minimizing your tax. If you're going to be serious about it, then go all in like serious people do. Treat it like a business, and make sure you're structured to protect your assets and also to minimize tax.
I'm surprised nobody's asked that. Yeah.
So anything else? Very true. And for all mortgage broking style questions, like I did that course a long time ago. I'm a bit rusty. I'm also a qualified real estate agent. I actually did it just because I wanted to get good at property. That's all, because I was just obsessed, like we all are. So I did a few courses to get real good.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
If there's any other questions from the audience, chuck them in now. But I really appreciate.
I'll hang around. You've got these comments are on the Facebook group, aren't they? So I'll just hang around a little while and answer any questions if they come up over the next whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had two pre-submitted questions. So one was, one's one of our other admins. He wanted to know is luxury what the difference between the luxury versus the normal renovation is. So is there much difference?
Okay. Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I actually think that unless you're doing a top-end house on the waterfront somewhere in a capital city, you can get away with non-luxury products in a renovation if you put it together nicely with thought and consideration. So you don't necessarily need, I've not seen a property get knocked back because there's not been a Miele whatever, or a good decent brand. I'm not talking about Bunnings ovens and stuff in high-end properties, and you can spend accordingly. But again, I think people get sold on the fact that high-end product and spending a lot is going to return a lot. If you can spend a little less and put it together so beautifully that it looks like you've spent more, that's the goal. That's the winning formula right there.
Yeah. We were talking before, and what someone mentioned, don't buy the cheapest from Bunnings, buy the second cheapest from Bunnings. The next
and there's so many good brands that come on special, and we've got discount cards and some buying power and stuff like that. Like we've got access to Harvey Norman commercial, so we can buy bits and pieces. If a brand name is important to you, we can access that.
This is one that's right in the weeds, and it says, "Can I know if having the same tiles for walls and floors in the bathrooms look better than different tiles?" I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So I still like, and it's still around a bit, running the floor tile up perhaps one wall, or running a floor tile up a half wall with a little shelf made, or something like that looks really, really cool, or just up to above the back of the vanity height. Yeah, you can do that. In the end, it just has to look pretty. Got to look pretty.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh my God, this is just a lesson in interiors tonight.
I like to learn these kind of things because I think it's an undervalued skill, actually, sort of designing something to make it look sort of presentable. So yeah, I think we could. I'm sure there'll be hundreds of questions that just keep coming up. So keep popping them in if you're watching this after, and Belinda will do her best to answer. But no, really appreciate you spending the time to come on and just contributing to the property industry. You are an absolute breath of fresh air, and thanks for all the good things that you do around the place.
Thank you too for being bright and shiny youngsters with an enthusiasm that is abounding, and I just really like what you've got going on in your space as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, awesome episode. I appreciate it. Let's go buy a Reno property. See you guys later.
Let's go flipping.